2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
As the betrayed spouse, how am I supposed to be okay with my partner being sexually attracted to other women?
Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Boy, Brandon, this is going to be a fun one today. This is going to be a good one. I think this is, we probably received this question multiple times over the last few weeks. So we're glad we got a guest that's willing to come on and talk about this today. Before we do that, how are you holding up?
Life's good, Tyler. You know, we're a week past the retreat. So I actually went and Wim Hofed with a couple of guys from the retreat a couple of days ago. And
I love it.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, we go jump in cold water and sit there for a while. So it was fun. It was
just
great.
learn some pain tolerance, right?
Yeah. So shout out to those guys that went and hopped in the cold water with me, faced some pain. It was great.
What I think is cool about that, Brandon, is that those are guys that you really had never met before. And after a weekend's retreat, they happen to just be able to be in contact with you and to be able to go do something that you do anyway. And that's kind of the essence of what I loved about that retreat, was just the brotherhood that was formed there. And the guys that were a part of that were just really phenomenal, really amazing men.
The quality of men that we get to be around.
Oh yeah. I felt so
in
fortunate.
Our lives. Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel so grateful for that we were able to be a part of something like that and to see some of the changes that happened there.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, I say we dive right in. We probably got a lot to talk about when it comes to this topic. So, Valerie, welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Thank you for coming on.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Valerie, if you want to just give maybe a little bit of background as to where this question's coming from, and then ask away. Ask any question that you have.
Well, my husband has been a porn addict the entire time we've been together, and I didn't know until July of last year. And there's been a lot of denial and trickle truths. It's only been known to me as an actual addiction since about April of this year.
Okay.
And he started his therapy. And what my issue is, I understand the 3-second rule, And I understand, yes, my husband can look at a bunch of beautiful flowers and appreciate them, and look at beautiful mountains and appreciate them. But when it comes to looking at a beautiful woman and appreciate them, there were many times he admitted that he was having sex with me just as an obligation. And the only way he was able to have sex with me, because he has porn-induced ED, was to hold the vision of somebody that he's seen in porn in his head. And even then, sometimes we weren't able to finish.
Mm-hmm.
We would lose it beforehand. So my problem is, if he sees somebody out in the street or in the grocery store, if we were to have sex that night, how do I know that? Because it only takes a second to get that image burned into his brain for him to refer back to if we were to have sex that night. So how do I know that it's me he's attracted to, and he's not just using me as a masturbatory tool again? And if we don't have sex that night, how am I supposed to be okay with that? Because it could be because he's not attracted enough to me because I don't look like that other person.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I work through that, on either side?
Yeah, Valerie, there's a lot to this question. I'm glad you're bringing it up, because I know that there's other people who are feeling these things and wondering these things too. So we're going to try to take this a little piece at a time for a minute, if that's all right. And we'll try to kind of unlayer some of this stuff. So the first thing I just want to maybe touch on is you referenced the 3-second rule. I know many of our listeners know what that means, but just to explain what the 3-second rule is when we look at recovery from like a lust addiction, we are looking at what's called a progressive victory over lust. And so of course it starts with the acting out, whether it's pornography or the relationships, whatever. But then as you step yourself back out of what lust might be, lust is the pursuit of something that's non-reality, right? It's something that's going to cause me and other people pain and suffering because I'm going to put my energy into something that isn't real for me. And so that includes objectifying other women, fantasizing about other women, all the stuff that you just brought up. And so what the 3-second rule is it's a tool that we often teach to say, when you notice something, when you notice some tendency to want to go towards lust, or you notice a beautiful woman, or you notice whatever it is, it's not a permission to say, I get 3 seconds. It's more of a mindfulness awareness thing to say, okay, I'm recognizing now where my brain is at, and I've got to make a choice, 1, 2, 3. And then it's to be able to move into something that's going to be effective in terms of where I want to put my attention and my focus. That'll be more effective than maybe letting my brain spin down the road that it might have been used to going into like fantasy or objectification or other places like that. So just so that we're clear on like the 3-second rule first. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I, to be honest with you, I don't love the 3-second rule. And it's not, Valerie, it's not for the reasons, like, I don't love it because it creates a battle, and I believe it creates even more focus that leads toward lust. So what I tend to lean toward is more acceptance. Now, when I say acceptance, I'm not saying indulgence, but acceptance. And so there's there's a couple of things going on. I really like what you said, Tyler, about kind of unlayering this and picking it apart. We could say to your husband, Valerie, your husband could come in for therapy, and I could say to him, stop being attracted to other women, knock it off, right?
Right.
But the fact of the matter,
I would like that to happen.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Like, voila, bam, stop that, knock it off.
Give me that magic wand.
And the fact of the matter is, I like what you said, magic wand. The fact of the matter is that's not reality. Is he could go to the grocery store and see a woman in there and be attracted to her, and it's an automatic response. He's attracted to that woman. That's reality, right?
Right.
Now, at that point, he's not caught up in lust. Now, and this is really important to understand, is when you Tyler and I got some feedback recently from somebody who said, how dare you say to a sex addict that it's okay to be sexually attracted to other women? And the fact of the matter is as human beings, we are sexually attracted to people, right? And we haven't crossed over into that, into lust yet, when there's that initial attraction. I go to the grocery store, there's a woman there, and I'm attracted to her. Yes, that's reality. That's true. But there is a difference between that. I go to the grocery store and there's a woman I'm attracted to, and me using somebody and objectifying their body for my own gratification and escaping reality with that image in my mind, in my head, whether it's using pornography or whatever, right? And so what oftentimes happens when recovery starts to happen is a couple goes into therapy, and like you said, Valerie, the wife is like, don't, like, this is harming us. Stop it. Stop being attracted to women. Like, don't do that. I am your wife, right? And then the guy goes to therapy and oftentimes is told, don't have those sexual thoughts. And so they battle it. They act as if they don't, but they do.
Right.
And real recovery and sobriety, I believe, happens when they actually accept that they do. And they learn how to, with that acceptance, to not go into that objectification and that lust. And so it's really uncomfortable for the partner who's been betrayed to say, yes, I'm going to try to get to a place of acceptance that you're attracted to other people. That's really uncomfortable, right, Valerie?
That sucks.
Yeah. And, but it's also uncomfortable oftentimes for the person struggling with addiction to admit that that's actually true, that that's a reality as well.
Right.
Because they're told that it's bad and wrong and they should hide. And they've been hiding their sexual behavior for years and years and years and they're not open about it. Right. And so it creates this uncomfortable space. Am I making any sense?
Yeah. And I understand that from the addict's side. But my problem is I don't have any control over his recovery. So I don't know that when we're having sex, that I'm not just a masturbatory tool again. I don't know that. And how can I be okay with that?
That's a good question. So Brandon just unraveled the first layer to this, which is, okay, if we try to stifle sexuality altogether, we're not going to do any favors. We also don't want a guy going home from treatment saying, hey, my therapist said it's cool for me to just like go around and then like ogle women too, right? And that's definitely not what Brandon and I are saying. But somewhere in the middle, and this is where it gets messy, and I think this comes into your question, is if we acknowledge that there has to be some work happening from the recovering side, and a lot of that work is internal mental stuff, that's the same playing field that you're worried about, because that's the playing field you've been hurt by in the past, which is that he in his own mental place has actually been like disconnected from you while you've been hurt.
Right.
And that's really difficult to try to figure out how to navigate that space of, well, then what does the work look and feel like for me as a betrayed person to have to, number one, actually even acknowledge that work has to happen for my partner. But then number two, how do I establish my own work and my own safety and work through some of that, because it's so hard and it elicits such a strong response.
Right.
Valerie, what I'm hearing is a real trust issue. So,
yes.
So like if his sexuality is not the issue. Okay. Now hang in here with me for a second.
No, I agree with you. I understand. I agree with that.
But he's done some things sexually that have been acts that have broken trust in your marriage, right? And so here you are saying, I don't know when I have sex with him if he's actually having sex with me.
Right.
So if we back up a little bit, the first ingredient to actually having trust in the relationship is honesty.
Mhm.
And so what we don't want to create is for you to say, hey, husband, it's not okay for you to have sexual thoughts. And he says, okay, I won't. And then he lies to you about whether he's having them or not. Right. He's
Right.
no, I'm not having them. I'm not having them. I'm not like, no, I'm not attracted to anybody but you. He'll never fix this problem with you because he's not starting off as an honest human being.
Right.
So, but this takes some strength on your part to say, I would rather have you be honest with me about hard truths than lie to me in order to protect my feelings.
And we've had that discussion many times, but there's still hiding and lying going on.
Yeah.
Because the lie to me, the lies are he's not protecting me. He's protecting himself from the potential outcome of my reaction. That's it. Even though he says I didn't want to tell you because I was trying to protect you from being hurt, it is never about protecting me. It's always about protecting himself.
You're right. And that lie right there is him saying, I'm not masculine. I'm not strong enough to allow you to feel pain. I get my worth too much from you. I'm scared of you. And as long as that weakness is there, then the strength isn't going to be there for him to really start building that trust with you. That in those real vulnerable, what Tyler was talking about earlier, that middle ground of, yes, you can have your sexuality, but I still trust you. Or when we're in the bedroom, we're really vulnerable together. If he's so weak and he's lying all the time, your gut, Valerie, is actually alerting you to something that's important. Not just triggering you all the time in anxiety, because you're not safe and you're not feeling safe.
It sounds like some of the fears you have, at least right now, are currently valid because of what Brandon's saying here. That maybe that hard feeling that you're having is actually a blessing in a certain way to say, you know what, there isn't the right kind of trust established here yet. There isn't the right kind of work that's necessarily happening because the truth is that like it's a default setting for your husband to go into that self-protective place, and it feels weak and it feels selfish, and all of that stuff is going to twist you up in knots emotionally because in some ways it should. Like it's valid because what you're getting is like it's like a selfish form of honesty instead of a selfless form of honesty when it happens.
And Tyler, it's not even honesty.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If and right. When it happens,
it's manipulation
in some ways. Yeah,
but it's manipulation in the I'm doing the right thing, good boy way. So I'm doing the right thing, good boy way. You're not going to be upset, so I'm going to give you this answer because I'm protecting your feelings. When in reality, what is reality? How is he feeling? What is his truth? For him to actually be open with that with her, it might trigger her like crazy.
Yeah.
But at least she knows then, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think, Valerie, you can answer this for yourself, but I imagine you'd rather have the truth and have it hurt than to tend to live in the darkness like you have for so many years.
Yeah, I would rather know what reality is instead of him continuing to keep me held in a fantasy that I've been in for 12 years, and all he's doing is keeping me in that fantasy life, which is not real.
Valerie, let's say, and the answer to this is obvious, but let's say you're in the middle of having sex and he has some, we call it euphoric recall. He has some old triggers come up. He starts to fantasize. He thinks he needs to fantasize in order to perform. And so he starts to go into that fantasy. And let's say you're into it, and right in the middle of sex, he says, I got to stop because I'm not present with you. Would you want him to do that?
Yes.
No question, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, would that be triggering?
I will feel bad.
Yes.
I will feel bad, but I would rather that happen because that's actual work so that we can actually get past that. But if he's not saying I need to stop, and then the work's not being done, he's going to continue doing that going into that euphoric recall, and he's not going to be able to be present with me.
Guys, did you just hear what Valerie said? She would want to be it would hurt, it would be triggering, it wouldn't be fun, and that's what you would want, right?
Right.
Because that is honesty, it's strength, it's masculinity, to be that honest of a person, to say, you know what, partner, wife, I'm going to fight for your safety. I'm going to fight for you because I love you, and I'm going to fight so hard that I'm willing for you to be uncomfortable so I can protect the sanctity of our trust in our marriage, right? And that will actually start to build trust. So down the road, when you're having sex with him and you feel like he's present, you're going to know more that he's present because he's been honest with you about the times that he hasn't been.
Right.
Right. And there's another side to this coin too, Brandon and Valerie, and that's kind of the question that Valerie brought up to begin with, which is, well, then what do I do on my side of things here? And I think you touched on something, Brandon, that is true, not just for her husband, but for her as well. So many times when this kind of a question comes up, a betrayed spouse feels like they have to be just the perfect landing spot to welcome all of this honesty all the time. They feel like they can't have their feelings and they can't share what's actually going on for them. And so if we were actually to take that same scenario and they are becoming sexually intimate, and Valerie, you have the doubts come up and go, wow, I don't know. It felt like he just pulled away from me. Like maybe there's some disconnection here. Is it okay for you to be the one to put it on pause and say,
that's a great question.
Hey, are you present with me here? Is this us or is this something else? And that takes a lot of courage on your part too, to be able to do that in those moments. But that's also going to be something that can offer an opportunity for trust and a willingness to show the work if your brain is in that headspace to be able to do something like that.
I am not, I'm not able to do that with him because he gets mad at me because he doesn't feel like it's a big deal. He doesn't think I should be, he just wants me to move on and get past this. So he's not a safe person for me to come to him with my feelings.
Yeah. So I would, Tyler, this is a great point you're making. And this is what needs to shift, Valerie, in those moments, is for you to have the strength to be boundaried and honest, even if he does get upset and he pouts and he freaks out. And for him, and this is where like real magic can happen in a relationship, for him to learn how to get curious and empathetic to your triggers and your pain and your fears. In those moments, if he's that way and you're actually vulnerable and honest, talk about intimacy. You're making love now and you might not even be touching each other. Because you're vulnerable in your fears and he's connected to that. Now, I want to come back and say, okay, what if he never does? What if every time you're honest about your fears and your triggers, he gets defensive and he shuts you down and he doesn't meet those bids for connection? Mm-hmm. Then what?
That's what I'd like to know, because that's where we're at. I can't come to him with my feelings because he gets mad and defensive, and he tries to say all the right things, but when I'm not feeling that he actually cares, it doesn't help me get past it and process it and get through it. And then he gets mad. So to me, I'm afraid that all I'm going to do is encourage. If I were to tell him no in the bedroom, I would be encouraging him to go back because he still has the addict mentality going on.
Oh. Did you hear that, Tyler?
Yeah.
That you'll engage sexually because of the fear, right?
Yes.
That he could, yeah.
Yeah. This is a hard spot, because everything you're describing, Valerie, makes total sense, right? You've got your own pain, you've got your own fear. There's the fear that if he doesn't get into recovery, then there's all these implications for decisions you're going to have to make that you don't want to have to make, that were never fair for you to have to make anyway. And so, like, if you find yourself in this stuck place between, I've got to wait for my husband to get better so our marriage can survive, or I've got to just try to hold on and manage his emotions to the best of ability because I don't know that I want to have to make the choices I'm going to have to make if he decides not to get better. And this is really hard. And I mean, I can hear it even in what you just said there. that, I always teach my betrayed partners that one of their places for bottom lines to set is that they should never engage in sexual intimacy with their partners if they're feeling manipulated, controlled, or fearful, and that they should engage when they're feeling trust and connection. And
We would never have sex again. Because
Right.
he's in therapy. He did start seeing when it actually came out that there was actually an addiction, and it was happening a whole lot more than what I had found, that I had than he had originally said it was. He went into therapy, so he is seeing a specialist. Our marriage counseling is no longer happening. I'm now seeing our therapist for myself, but he's not
Right.
doing
So you
the
said,
work.
oh, go ahead.
But Valerie, there's a false belief that I hear here, which is common, which is that, well, let me just ask you this. Was the addiction there before you married him?
Yes.
Okay. So the false belief is this, is that your sex with him controls his acting out.
Mm-hmm.
So that you've got to provide, it really puts you in a position of, it's horrible. It's hell, where I have to have sex with you when I feel like you're triggered by some other woman, you're thinking about some other woman, I'm not feeling safe, but yes, have sex with me anyways, because I'm going to use my body to control your addiction, and I'm going to let you use my body to control your addiction. And it's horrible. And for you to say, actually, I'm going to let go of controlling his addiction with my body and with giving him sex. I'm going to allow him to step into dealing with his triggers and his addiction and his own recovery. And because of that, because I have let go of that fear that I can control his addiction, now I have the opportunity to step into being honest with him. And I'm first and foremost going to protect myself and know that I have some control over my own safety than to sacrifice myself for his addiction. Do you understand what I'm saying, Valerie?
Yeah, we're actually doing the 90-day reboot right now,
Okay.
from that book, Your Brain on Porn.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying that, but the problem is I'm still not safe coming to him because he's not doing the mental changing work. He said at first he was willing to do the work, but he didn't realize how much work it would be. So he's always been one to sweep stuff under the rug, and I've always been the fixer. And I want to talk about things. I want to get things fixed. I want to resolve things. And that's the only way I can move on. And he shuts down, and he just doesn't want to do the work. His therapist will tell him to do some things throughout the week before the next session. And he says, okay. And then he doesn't do it. So he's not accountable to himself to make sure that these things are getting done because it's too much work.
So Valerie, where does that leave you?
Lost, confused.
Yeah.
Hurt.
Are you, I hear inside of you that the last thing you really want to do is end your relationship with him.
I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. I hear that your heart's been fighting for a really long time to try to keep this thing alive and to keep it and to try to fix it and make it vibrant, even to the point of trying to do his work for him because you care that much. And I can only imagine how exasperating that must be to come to that recognition that at the end of the day, all of that effort doesn't change the fact that there's still things that he's going to have to do. And so because you're in a spot, Valerie, that you're not ready to make a decision to like go the other way on the relationship, what Brandon's getting at here is that this is the hard thing to hear is that if you're in the relationship, you might as well do everything in your power to actually help things go right. And one of the ways you can invite change to happen in the system is by taking care of yourself and your values and being straight up honest with him,
Yeah.
and allowing him the room and the space, if he so chooses, to practice stepping into his manhood a little bit and learning how to be empathetic and understanding and shame resilient. And the way that he gets to do that is because you'll be inviting him when you're in the middle of sex and you feel the disconnection happen, and you stop it and say, wait a minute, I don't know if this is real or not, but I just need to know if you're with me. And then he goes and he pouts and he throws a fit, and hopefully he does some of his work, but at least he walks away knowing they had a real person speak truth to him that he has to go wrestle with. And at least you're inviting something to go right there while protecting your values, instead of just allowing yourself to continually be in that position that you don't want to be in, which is managing his emotions through sex.
Right.
There's a catch-22 to all of this, Valerie. And there's a reason why you're feeling stuck, which is you want a healthy relationship. You want love. You want trust. You want intimacy. And you wouldn't be here today talking to us if you weren't searching for answers to figure that out. And you really want it. You don't want a relationship where you're just surviving and suffering it out, and but in order to have that type of a relationship that's built on trust and safety, it's going to require doing almost the very thing that you don't want to do, which is there's this, you say you're the caretaker.
Yeah.
Why do you caretake, Valerie? What are you afraid of? Why do you fix things? Why do you make sure they're okay?
So when I left my parents' house, because in my home, I was not allowed to be who I was. I was always compared to my sister. And she was a very different person than me. So when I was able to move out, I did a lot of work on who am I? What is my values? What am I worth? And what's my power? What basically, how powerful am I as a person, and who am I? And I could probably be certified as an introspection junkie.
I love it.
I do a lot of probably 95% of my free time is spent on figuring out how I can fix my marriage and how I can fix me, because I'm always striving to be better today than I was yesterday, a better person.
Love it.
And I know my worth, and I know my value again now.
So using that and taking that, the reality of him not choosing you and you facing that is what's going to make it possible for you to actually step into all the things you just said, Valerie. Is for you, it's this catch-22 where he needs some detachment from you so that he can do his own work and get healthy and be the man that you deserve. And in order for that to happen, you need to detach from it as well. And I'm not saying detach in terms of you don't have any emotional connection or anything like that. What I'm saying is that caretaker part of you goes away.
Yeah.
And that honest, boundaried, empowered woman shows up in the relationship. And you let him figure his masculinity out. You let him figure out his recovery. And there's going to be moments when you so badly want to step in and take over and fix it and make it better for him. And for you to just not do that, for you to just stay true to yourself over and over and over again. And it's going to be excruciating both for you and him for a little while. But eventually he'll realize, like, Valerie's strong. Valerie loves herself. I can't use her anymore. Like, she's not going to let me use her anymore. And she's going to expect a man in recovery. So either I got to do this or I don't. And he might leave at that point. And if he does, then you have your answer, right? You're not going to stay in this long term with him not working recovery. He might step up as a man at that point and fight for you and create the relationship that you actually want. But it's gonna be getting to that place of surrender, of letting go and letting God take this over and say, I'm not gonna show up in my fear anymore to try to fix this.
Yeah, we're basically now roommates. He's in the spare bedroom. There is still some building that we're still trying to do. There is still some I love yous and stuff, but I told him that I wouldn't make my final decision on what's going to happen until after the therapeutic full disclosure. And then even at that point, it'll depend on where I feel like he's at in recovery, how far he's come then. And I'm normally a very June Cleaver wife, but also work full time. Mm-hmm. And I love being his wife. And it's been really hard for me not to. And I want that back. But I'm afraid that he'd rather just go find somebody else that he doesn't have to do the work for, that I'm not worth it to him. I know I'm worth it to me, but I don't think I'm worth it to him.
Tyler, you have thoughts?
Again, I can hear the feeling in your voice, Valerie. I just got to tell you how grateful I am that you're willing to come and bring yourself on right now. And I know that you're not alone in all of this. And I think that that's the place where it sounds like you came on asking some questions. I'm going to give a couple of suggestions here, Valerie. One is Brandon and I both have addressed this idea of your own values, and it sounds like you've done some internal work to know who you are, to know your values. And I would suggest that you can still be some level of a wife and keep your values while still also having some boundaries and keeping those other values intact too. And that's going to be the battle that you have for the time being. And at the end of the day, the good thing that you have going for you is you already know who you are. The surrender to allow him to wrestle, to make the choices, is going to be the hardest part for you. It's that practice of giving him over every single day to choose to do his work or not. And if he doesn't choose to do his work, you're doing the kind of work yourself where you're going to be able to pick up the pieces and do your grieving and go through the pain and move on. But I also believe, and it sounds like you have an inkling of this too, that you're married to a man who actually has it in him to be in recovery. He needs you and everybody else to get out of the way so that he can go have that ugly, messy journey into his own recovery and manhood a little bit.
Valerie, I want to speak to your husband just for a second, and I hope he listens to this. And speaking to him is also speaking to many men in his situation. And I don't know him. I don't know exactly where his heart's at and where everything's at here. But this is what I want to say is I've talked to your wife for a little over half an hour, and I can already feel her heart. And I'm going to tell you this right now. You're making a huge mistake if you don't face your demons and deal with your addiction, face the pain, and work it for yourself first and foremost, so that you can show up as the man that you are for her, because she deserves that. She deserves that. So whatever you have to face, whatever pain you have to deal with, whatever you have to do to start building trust with her. I've worked with many women, I've worked with many couples, and I can tell you, you'll be letting a good thing go. So I just feel like I need to say that to him, Valerie. And you are absolutely worth it, Valerie. And whether he realizes that and can figure that out or not, I hope that you realize that. I hope that you know that.
I do know that. Thank you.
Yep.
Valerie, we're getting down to just the last couple of minutes of time that we have here. Is there anything on your heart, questions or other thoughts?
No.
From what I've gathered, just in the short time that we've talked, the first thing I want to say to you, Valerie, is stay the course. like you are trying to do some work. I do think that there's some nuanced things here. I would plead with you to set a bottom line for yourself that you don't manage his emotions or his recovery through sex. You
Hmm.
can still lean in and practice. I still think there's room for practice when you're feeling like there's safety and humility and accountability in place. Um, but at the end of the day, anything done to erode your own sense of self is not going to be helpful in the long run.
Yeah.
Valerie, how are you feeling as we've been talking?
I'd like to say that I'm hopeful, but I'm not, because this is all up to him.
Yeah.
So where can the hope go, Valerie? Because you're
I don't
right.
know.
You're absolutely right. Much of what we're talking about here is beyond yours or our control.
Yeah.
So where does the hope go?
I don't know. I don't know where to put it.
Where, in other words, Valerie, where can your peace come from outside of your relationship?
I can't tell you that.
I stumped you.
Yeah.
I
Because
think
I don't,
that.
because
Oh, go
really
ahead.
I don't even know what kind of recovery I need to be doing. Am I recovering to be a single person when all of this is done, or am I recovering to be a wife of an addict that I now have, that I need to build trust in and keep trust in? I don't even know what kind of recovery I need to be doing,
Well, but there's some.
because I
So
don't know where he's at.
you're making a really good point, because we don't know the future, so we don't know how to set you up, right, for
Right.
success. But there are some principles that um, they they go beyond whether you stay married or not, and those principles are things like um, that you're going to move forward and have purpose and have connection and have attachment and passion in your life, regardless of whether you're married or whether you're not married. um, and so when everything is sitting on that relationship, every part of your future, every part of your purpose, every part of who you are, it creates this space of, no matter what, I'm going to protect that relationship, even at the cost of me sacrificing all of my truths and myself. And what me and Tyler have been getting at today is, you know what? Fight for your relationship with everything you've got. But the way that you fight for your relationship is first and foremost to fight for yourself. And you might end up divorced because you get healthy. And if that happens, you still beyond that relationship, you still can find peace, happiness, and purpose in your life, right? So it's easy for me to say that from this side of things. But I tell you that, Valerie, because I've seen women and I've seen partners come through the other side and realize, oh my gosh, that's true. Like I'm actually okay. Like, in fact, I'm better than I was. So we can't talk you into hope. We can't say, have hope, Valerie. Here you go. Here's hope. But I hope you can hear a little of that and realize, you know what? Whatever happens, I'm going to be okay.
That's the piece here, Brandon, that I just want to emphasize on the way out here, is that there is hope. There is hope when the perspective gets big enough. And right now, when the perspective is shallow and small and the relationship is the only thing that I'm looking at, then it is hopeless. But if I look bigger, like, I am more than my relationship. My wife's going to hear me say that and she won't like it, but she's going to like it because she knows it's true. And I hope that
Oh, she'll like it.
I hope she sees me and says, you know what? I am more than my relationship with Tyler. And now I get to know that she chooses in and that I get to choose in. And if it doesn't work out, there is life on the other side. There's surrender. There's the ability to put that hope in something bigger than myself or this one little thing. You know, I shouldn't say little thing, but this one relationship, it's bigger than that. And so I can surrender that. That's not the target anymore. The target is my heart and a wholehearted life, and I'm going to fight for my relationship in the context of those things. But it's surrender. It's something bigger than me.
But I can't keep doing all of the fighting.
No.
Nope. That's where the surrender comes in. You've got to let go of all of that and let the chips fall where they're going to fall, and know that on the other side of whatever happens, whether you're in or you're out of your relationship, that there's life on the other side. You can still have a good life, and it doesn't matter if you're in or out. There's still a lot you can do today to help yourself become the person who can have life, whether it's in or out of the relationship.
Right.
So,
all right, Valerie, we got to wrap up here because of time, but I really appreciate your courage, your vulnerability, your willingness to share. You help so many other people who are in similar situations. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
best of luck, Valerie.
Thank
See
you.
ya.